So I did a video earlier and I was talking about comparisons of some similarities between my life abuse and indoctrination as a child with respect to the movie Still Hope. I was calling it Just Hope, but it's Still Hope. And that was a movie streaming on Angel Angel Studio streaming. And I had mentioned, could I have been that clueless? Could I have been that obedient, that submissive, filling that role of a wife like the church had thought? And a lot of times I have pulled myself to pieces trying to understand how I could have been so blind and so willing to accept the abuse in my first marriage and in the church. And I've said it's indoctrination, it's programming. And I know a lot of people will find that very hard to believe. But my anxiety in life, I have examples of anxiety from when I was 5 and 6 years old. There was already so much pressure at 5 and 6 years old to be perfect, to be that right image, to always be obedient, to be exactly what people wanted you to be. When I was um, 5, my parents in church were very much you had to look a certain way before you went out the door to public or visit family or friends. We always had to give the impression things were going good. We never could talk bad about anything. I mean, so our first and only family picture we had, um, it was just a spur of the moment thing. It wasn't planned. And we were walking through what I don't think it was Kmart at the time. It was another store. And somebody had set up a photo booth like they did. And they had the screens you could pull down to change the background. And so we have two pictures that were made on the same day with two different backgrounds. And I got upset because when my mom asked my dad about getting a family picture, she really didn't expect him to say yes, but he did. And so my mom was like, "We're going to have our picture made." And all I could think of was I was wearing my old shoes. I was wearing my old shoes. They were not the best shoes. And so I was upset. I did not want to get a picture. And my mom was doing everything to convince me to smile and to, get through this picture kind of thing. And I appreciate she did because it's the only family picture, that we ever had done. Um, and one of them was ruined later in life. So we just have one out of the two. But that was the first sign that it was already so in my head you had to look a certain way. I was 5. You know, when I was 6, okay, I was in school. In kindergarten the year before, we had the big table that you would do your writing and arts and crafts on, that the teacher would work with you around. And so when I got into 6th grade, we had our own desk. I was excited. I had a desk. And I remember our first grade class was in a little single wide trailer parked beside the school building. And so we went out there, and there wasn't a lot of kids, or maybe 20 in the classroom. Maybe. I'm not sure if there was even that. Uh, and and I remember my desk was toward the first row when you're coming into the trailer, and then it went down through the trailer. The desk did, and I was like the second seat from the front, and I was sitting in my little desk, so excited, and it was the beginning of the year, and some kids behind me started laughing, and I wanted to know what they were laughing about. So I turned around, shifting my body weight in my seat to look back to see what are they laughing about. And my desk creaked. My desk creaked. And I immediately turned around to face the front, my hands laid on the desk, and I started praying and asking God, please say she didn't hear that. Say the teacher didn't hear that. Say I didn't make too much noise and I won't get in trouble. We're not supposed to make trouble. We're not supposed to make noise. I hope she didn't hear that. Please say she didn't hear that. I don't want to be in trouble. I will do better next time. I won't get in trouble. I won't be loud. I won't. And from that point on, every day in school, I would sit so rigidly. I was afraid of moving a muscle for fear the desk would creak. Yeah. So I was already battling this anxiety. I was 5 and 6 years old. Yeah. When I had my first daughter in my first marriage, and we had been married 3 years before I had our first daughter. I didn't really want kids. I didn't want to try to be a mom. I was afraid I would not be a good mom. Um, that was not really on my mind at all. So I was doing everything I could to not have kids, and it still happened, you know. And I was 24 when she was born. It was a month before my 24th birthday. I remember being in the hospital with her, and she was the cutest thing, a big full head of hair. She had so much hair, and she had so much attitude for a newborn, and she was very alert, noticing all the details. I mean, her eyes just seemed to follow everything. And Adam, and when she was born, the nurses had immediately told me, gave me a bottle to feed her, and they put a couple extra diapers there in the bed with her so I could change her, but nobody had gave me permission to give her a bath or change her clothes. And I kept looking at her. We were in the hospital 3 days, and I guess it was about the second day. And I was like, she is so cute, but she smells so bad. She needs a bath. And there was all that sour milk where newborns spit up so much, And she smelled awful. She was awful. And I was like, God, she really needs a bath. And I mean, I've been pregnant with this kid for 9 months, gave birth to her. I had to have a C-section, and I kept thinking she really needs a bath. Am I allowed to give her a bath? They didn't tell me I could give her a bath. If I could just change her clothes. I wonder if I could change her clothes. I wonder if the hospital allowed me to change her clothes. There was no sense that this was my child that I was making decisions for. I was waiting for someone to give me permission to care for my child. And it's memories like that when I sit and think on things and I start recalling different parts of life, I really was having a very hard time knowing what was my life to do anything with. I was so used to people calling the shots, telling me what I could and couldn't do, that I couldn't seem to think for myself on anything. And the 3 years of being married, in the first, oh my goodness, the first 3 days, I realized I don't know this guy. He lost his temper 3 days into our honeymoon, and I had never seen him lose his temper. That really floored me. It did. But I was raised, you don't divorce unless there's adultery, and so I was determined. Yeah, I'm going to make this work. This is my fault. I should have realized and took more time to get to know him. So that's on me, and I will make this work. Yeah. Every time I tried to get him to do things that we did when we dated, He never would want to. When I tried to connect on things he seemed interested in, which was sports, funny enough, because we were not supposed to watch sports or participate in sports. That was against our religion, but he really liked sports. He liked playing video games. And so if I tried to get him to talk to me during a football game, try to explain to me what was going on, he would get so mad that I was interrupting his game. It is just, I was just trying to connect, but I was interrupting his game. And if I tried to play on the game system, I wasn't learning it fast enough. And so he would get very mad about that. And so it became very evident I wasn't going to learn his hobbies and interests. He wasn't even going to help me learn his hobbies and interests. He didn't really want me there. Um, so it was easier just to fall into the role of tending the house, cooking, cleaning. I did try to continue my walking and biking because I hiked, walked along the road. I rode a pedal bike. No, not a motorcycle. It's just a bike, stationary, like a stationary bike, but you rode on the road. Um, anyways, bicycle, you know. Um, I drew, painted, played music. I was that kind of person. It's very, very creative, outdoor kind of person. And the whole time we dated, we walked parks and everything. So I thought he was an outdoor person too. And he was not. He was not an outdoor person. Um, so when I would try to go for walks and stuff, I'd ask him, "Do you want to join me?" And it was always no. And then it was all these excuses why I shouldn't go for a walk because if something happened to me in the woods, he wouldn't know where to find me. And I just didn't want to make him upset. So I was trying to be considerate of him. What I wasn't understanding, he was erasing my freedom and limiting what I could do and taking me further and further away from my hobbies, interests, friends, and family just to cater to him. Just to cater to him. And it wouldn't stand out to me. Why would any of that stand out to me? My mom never did much with other people. She once in a while visited her mom and dad or a few of her sisters, but she really didn't have outside connections. That was common. It was actually common in a lot of our family. And everybody in our family was always taught you respected your husband. You never spoke bad about him to anybody. You never shared the bad things in your marriage. You kept your mouth shut because you weren't supposed to, air dirty laundry. You know. And so when we went somewhere when we were little, people would absolutely brag about how me and my brother Alex were so well behaved. I mean, we wouldn't wander through the house. We wouldn't get loud. We would just sit right there and be very quiet and obedient, and everybody was just so impressed by that. In school, the only nicknames I had was Church Mouse and Goody Two Shoes because the whole atmosphere in my childhood was to be quiet and obey. Be quiet and obey. Now, my brother, he would lose his temper when we were teenagers. He would get rather rough with me when we were teenagers. He would get an attitude with mom. I'm sorry about the dog crunching on the dog food. He's bad for that. It's like he's going to eat while I'm talking because I guess that he feels socializing with everybody else. So he's going to eat with y'all. But anyways, so my brother would lose his temper with even our mom. And Dad never said anything to him about it. Dad never corrected Alex. I never got in trouble. I did not get in trouble. And the few times I did, it was very early in life. And after Dad taking care of the situation, which usually meant getting wore out with a belt. Yeah. And I don't mean a dress belt, I mean a weightlifting belt. um, I did not get in trouble much at all because I did not want to get dad on the bad side. And I honestly don't remember Alex getting in trouble very often. I know he got an attitude with mom, but usually dad would throw a fit at mom, and then mom was expected to keep us in line. You know, so even today, with having left the church, my brother doesn't talk to me. What he does is he sees the videos or hears about what I'm sharing. Then he calls to scream and fuss at our mom that I'm going to hell, I'm twisting the Bible, I'm this awful person, I need to be straightened up and shut up. You know, you're not supposed to be talking about those things. And that's what they do. They want silence, they want submission, they want obedience to them and their ideas. And that's the church and dysfunctional family. If your family wants silence and obedience, they don't want to communicate with you as to your concerns, your feelings, that's dysfunction. Abuse is all about power, control, and manipulation. And churches that don't allow for communication, they don't want anybody to be in contact with you because you might see and understand more of something that they think will pull you from the church. That's people controlling. They're not protecting you. I heard for years that the church sets up guardrails and fencing to protect you. And it's like, no, when other people have to put up any kind of retaining wall, guardrail, a fence around you, they're holding you captive. It's the individuals in a healthy relationship that set their own boundaries. If you have to make rules that I have to submit to your rules, you're not protecting, you're controlling. And that's abuse. That's abuse. Guardrails don't even hold in. They're intended along the road to keep you from going over the hill, but you can still go over the hill. In the churches, what they want to put up is walls. They want to make sure you do not have doors and windows to any outside information, to any outside experiences beyond their church. So does dysfunctional families. Because if you don't see and know any more information, they can control and keep you under their thumb where they want you, or under their feet. And I feel like my whole life has been nothing but a doormat, a puppet on strings. And it wasn't optional for a 5 and 6-year-old to have that much fear and anxiety. It wasn't optional. It was so much indoctrination, brainwashing, torment, fear, oppression. That wasn't Christ. Wasn't Christ. So I do like the First Brethren Church. I do like that they don't stop me from testifying. They have never said anything negative about what I share on social media. I've had some very lengthy conversations with the pastor and wife as to my understanding and where I stand on stuff. Do we agree on everything? No. I really have a lot of problems with traditional church. I really do. I get they want everybody to know who Jesus is. I do not believe anyone has the right to set any kind of standard as to somebody's life, identity, sexuality. I don't feel they have a right to tell you anything with respect to what kind of family dynamic you have, how you live with your income and finances. Unless you ask, I don't think that's any of their business. And I will never look at people and tell them, you can't live like that. I didn't make them. I don't know the brain God gave them. I don't know what they've experienced in life that they're overcoming. I don't know any of those things. I mean, if they want to um, share as we're together talking or something, they can share, but I'm not going to sit here and make them explain to me their sexuality and their sexual identity and their why they do what they do. That's not my business. That's between them and God. What I will look at is their fruit. And I can tell you right now, if they're not trying to control other people, if they're allowing people to communicate, they're allowing people to live their life, they're not trying to force them to live by laws and policies that govern their body like your property. Women aren't property. Nobody should be controlling a woman's physical health and what medical care she can get by your religious understanding. God said, lean not in your own understanding. And yet every religion does lean in their understanding. Every religion wants to control people. So no, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. Yeah. The First Brethren Church, they are more of a Trinity mindset in the sense of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, but they believe those things are one. So when they do that, it's like, I don't know why you even bother with the Trinity. God's God. But, that's where they're at. I just like the fact they allow for open communication. I like that they're open to new ideas. They're willing to accept if you don't see it their way. Do I know how they'll treat everybody? No. Do I think they would be as receptive to everybody? I don't think anybody's exactly the same reception to everybody. We all have something that scares, intimidates, offends, or we just don't understand, period. So you don't treat everybody exactly the same. I don't think that's possible. I really don't. But I do think they want to be supportive and bring people to Christ in a way that's positive, not controlling. They do seem to still have a system of organization that allows for ongoing, just continual discussions, reconsiderations of their doctrine. So it's not set in stone. A lot of the other churches are very set in stone. You're not going to change anything there. They don't want to discuss it. They don't want to look at it. And all the others hold the stuff that I grew up under. I don't want anything that has anything from my childhood in it. I don't. I want that. I want to break completely free of everything that ever tied up my life. That's not me. That's not what God intended for me. God wants me to have a better life, and that's not in those things. Anything that is not for me. It's not for me. And I know I normally don't say what organization I came out of, but I will say it was the United Pentecostal Church International. They were founded in 1945. Yeah. They are a oneness Pentecostal belief. They have a 3-step salvation plan. They do not believe you're saved by believing in God. They do not really believe in grace. There's no grace there. You live by extreme holiness standards that control your life. Um, they regularly allow teaching on the pulpit that uncut hair is a woman's glory. It's a signal to angels. If you don't cut it, then the angels protect your family. If you cut it, then the angels do not protect your family. Your hair is spoken of as helping answer prayers and healing bodies. And I can give services as examples that you can watch and hear it for yourself. Yeah. That's not serving God. That's serving self and a lot of man-made doctrine. That's witchcraft and idol worship because you're making your hair God. You're making your dogma God. You're lifting ideologies up over even what's in the Bible when the Bible clearly says, if you believe you are in Christ, they don't believe in the belief aspect at all. Grace, I never understood the concept of grace until I had left the church. It was a couple of years after leaving the church. And then when I started mentioning grace, like if I would mess up and say, I'll just give grace, different ones in my family would look at me and ask, are we about to eat? And I'm like, what? I'm like, well, why would I need to pray? Are we about to eat food? And I'm like, not that kind of grace. I mean, give grace, unmerited favor, because we all mess up. That kind of grace. And they had been in church longer than I had and didn't know what grace was. They were even in leadership roles in the church and didn't know what grace was. Study the Bible for yourself. A lot of the churches trap you to things that they think is best for you. They're not God. They don't know your life. They're not going to bring you to peace. They're bringing you into alignment to them, not Christ's will for your life. There's better ways of doing things. So, yeah, I was clueless as to what my first husband was really about and what he was willing to do. And even after we divorced, he was always trying to control things. Later, after he hit our daughter and we went to court and he wasn't allowed to be around him for 6 months. And it was about 2 years before they started having anything to do with him again. I hadn't seen him in 10. But even in that time, if I would make a post, even if it was just a joking post, he would immediately message me that I needed to forgive, let it go, because if I don't forgive, I'm going to hell. And at that time, I didn't understand that the things I had went through were criminal. They were abusive and criminal, And so now I get it. Now I get why you wanted me to shut up all the time, because you understood how criminal you were in your actions, even down to holding me and our daughters into the apartment against our will, forcing me to steal stuff. Return stolen stuff so that you could get money for your medications from drug addicts. All the sexual abuse. I didn't deserve any of that. Every bit of that was crimes. And that's why it was always you trying to make it clear I didn't forgive. You were just trying to shut me up. You were just trying to control me again.